going down here, so we've got at least 2 more games to go. And that being said, let's jump into the game.
Ah, there we have it. Indeed, we have Iceland's coming out, so not surprised at all with the water map. It's going to be Vikings, obviously, and Huns.
All right,
yeah, interesting combination here.
Let's start this one off with letting people know that this is game number 3, Absolute Random Cup, Error and TaToH versus Liereyy and MbL, best of 5 semifinals here. 1-1 score, Huns and Vikings for each team. This is Killer B. I'm here with Wick. Wick, take it away, my friend. What were you about to say?
Okay, so I kind of want to get started on the map right now because there are some kind of interesting things. Liereyy and MbL didn't use a re yet, right? And TaToH and Error did use one.
Yes, indeed. One re left for
best of
MbL
5,
and
both
Liereyy.
teams only have 1 re available, and Iceland's can be kind of a map where re would be nice at times. Now I have to say there's no disastrous map this time, but Lierey's gold is kind of exposed at the back, which might be a bit awkward in the long run of the game. On the other hand, yeah, actually, oh man, there's so much I want to talk about right now that I'm getting kind of confused. Because, first of all, this game can go many ways. Like, obviously we're going to see Grush coming out for both players. I don't think anyone is going ahead and trying a landing at this level of skill. But the real question is, like, are the players able to at least survive the Grush stage, whether the game is going to be decided during the Grush? I think all these players are at a high enough skill level to actually be able to at least keep up with their opponent for the early game. And in that scenario, I kind of want to consider the maps of the players. And I think most players actually have a particularly nice map, mainly considering gold placement.
Yeah, gold placement seems...
Except Liereyy, really.
Gold placement seemed pretty safe.
The real question stays, like, what stage will this game be decided?
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
the golds on the additional islands are really interesting, in my opinion. I think if the game really transitions into a longer game, that's going to be so important.
Yeah, so this game is game number 3. We've seen 2 relatively long games in game 1 and 2. We did see a little bit of water on rivers there in game 1. And we did see, as you were saying, this being TaToH and Error's home map. We've seen TaToH and Error play really well on water. They're a bit feared here. They may have a bit of an upper hand on the choice here of islands. As you said, Liereyy has a little bit of gold that is within range of water. He can't afford to lose that part of the map for too long. Certainly his second gold pile will be out of range of galleys early on. We're going to see, early grushing from all players. We're going to see who can do this very efficiently. And it will probably be very, very similar builds and very similar timings for all players on the map. If we look at fishing, MbL's dropped his dock on the back of the map. That's a decent place for galleys and to build up an army, but there's no fish there. So if he does win the water, he's not going to have great fishing for very long. Lierey's dock is very far from MbL's dock, which could be awkward if they do get isolated from one another. He has better fishing on his side. Red player TaToH is going to have a decent fishing area, but not a great one. His first dock will come up on the basically the northwest corner of the map, and we will see the blue player here, Error, go with a dock on the back as well, and he will not have great fishing, but decent there. MbL's dock is probably, it's going to be okay. There is plenty of fish here. He'll get a couple of fishing ships out early. The distance between his dock and his teammate Liereyy could be interesting later in the game, but like you said, we're going to see basically a little bit of an early game, a couple fishing ships, couple of villagers out, get things going, get your economy going, and then immediately switch into Grush mode. And we are going to see a feudal age dominated by water. Often, these games are decided
it's
early.
Not ending up in a Grush. But by the way, I want to point one thing out, because what you see in this game is like all the players are kind of moving to a corner to dock, except MbL. MbL dropping his dock immediately behind his island. Usually, you want to dock in corners to get optimal fish, but for someone who docked on the back of his island, MbL actually has pretty good fish.
Yeah, it's as good as it's going to get.
MbL's and Lierey's docks are complete opposite sides. So it's going to be kind of important, but obviously in such a water map where every player is going to be grushing in a 2v2, it's going to be really important to synchronize when you're going to attack, where you're going to be at. But that's also a really interesting part of decision making in such a match, because am I going to help out my teammate, risk my own fish eco? Am I going to stick at my own dock and make sure I have control over there so I can reinforce easier? Or are we just trying to team up as much as possible so we can fight 2v1 in the hope that the opponent makes the wrong decision? It's a lot of decision making in Warzone maps.
Yeah, so Liereyy will transition over to that safer gold pile. 3 vills over there. We're going to see some galleys. Second dock coming down for the teal player. He went with Loom relatively early. I don't know if you saw it, but he will be fine. He'll be working his way up. Looks like he will hit the feudal age with MbL first. Error and TaToH will be a bit behind. Actually, a little surprising there to see them be a couple of villagers slower. A couple of villagers slower for those guys to get to feudal. But it is now in for both the teal and green player. It's a big map. We'll see if they can make any aggression happen here early. Galleys immediately coming out for teal. MbL on the top side will have 1-2 galleys on the very top of the map coming out of 2 docks. Third dock on the way. So a little bit of an advantage for those guys.
I'm surprised by Arrow's late uptime. He went for 6 fishing ships in Dark Age, where usually you see 4. Which I also find particularly interesting is that in the north we have TaToH playing as Vikings and MbL as Huns, so that means we're going to see Huns versus Vikings on both sides of the map, which obviously is a slight advantage for the Vikings, as they are by far the most superior civ on Water, even though obviously the team bonus is shared, so that's going to make the gap a little smaller. But I'm kind of interesting, because if it continues to be 2 1v1s across the map instead of the players grouping up, then you should say that the Viking players still should have an edge in this scenario, and maybe both Viking players should be winning Water. But on the other hand, I kind of expected that there's going to be one stage where the players group up.
Yeah, so it looks like Liereyy will be across the map with a galley here pretty early, second or third one on the way, but it's just such a long distance for him to reinforce. He's actually going to lose this front boat if he's not careful. Error getting in a lot of damage. He's going to reinforce there on the bottom side. TaToH starting to build up a bit of a navy of his own, but he's not headed forward just yet. MbL also massing a navy for the time being. So Liereyy sending ships one by one across the map, trying to mass up near the blue player. Obviously Vikings v Huns here. We would expect a little bit of an early advantage on the water, but Lierey's a bit behind. He's taken a lot of damage on those couple of ships, and I don't think he's going to catch Error with his pants down. Error here is going to be able to pull back and regroup. 3 docks pumping out galleys, and he's going to have the numbers to take on that fight for the time being. Liereyy just can't overpower him.
Yeah, I think Liereyy
like
really
this.
wanted to punish Arrow for being up later to the feudal age, but he really wasn't able to, because I think he was kind of late to produce out of his 3rd dock. And from there on, he just had this awkward 1v1 where Arrow was microing and Liereyy wasn't, and it seems like TaToH is going... Oh, never mind. I thought he was going to make a more aggressive move. TaToH actually being quite a bit behind on MbL right now, which is a bit disappointing as Vikings, I suppose, but he was up later as well, so that's probably the main cause.
So right now we are seeing a micro battle. It does seem like Error is winning that battle. Liereyy again losing another ship, getting pushed back here. He will regroup and have the numbers, but he's just lost so many ships, and he's lost 2 ships, but that seems like a lot here early on, while his opponent seems to be microing a little bit better. Taking a little bit better fights there is Error. TaToH sailing the long way around the island. Maybe he's going to walk into or sail into the back of MbL's zone and take on the fishing ships. MbL's main navy is still pretty much at home, but he might be thinking about moving out here soon. Blue and teal players still posturing on the backside. Nothing too crazy going on. Liereyy is 1 vill behind at this point in the game. 33 vills each for Error and TaToH. MbL a little bit ahead militarily and villager-wise. So MbL with a really nice uptime may give his team a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, MbL doesn't have Loom yet, so that explains 1 vill, which is kind of shame, by the way. What is called... Just never mind. Liereyy, when fighting Error, actually had fletching earlier, whereas Error didn't have fletching.
Yep.
But he didn't really use that advantage. He couldn't really kite Error, and that's where another poor fight came from. And now Liereyy just feels like lacking compared to Error. Whilst he's ahead in military count, he just isn't able to apply any pressure. And in the meanwhile, TaToH's actually able to deal some damage on the fishing ships of MbL, it appears.
Yeah, so TaToH gets in some damage. MbL sails past TaToH's zone and heads toward Error. That's interesting. MbL going to go the long way around the island of TaToH and maybe sail into Error's zone. He and his teammate may 2v1 that army, which would be very advantageous for them. But in the meantime, TaToH's going to be sailing around the map doing whatever he wants. Right now, not
This is
doing
kind
much.
of what I talked about in the early game, where you have the consideration of teaming up with your teammate and maybe giving up your own fish, or staying at your own spot defending your fish, because MbL seems to be in a great position to team up with Liereyy right now. So that means that Arrow is going to pick a horrible fight here, might lose all his fish, but to do that, MbL simply gave up his own 4 fishing ships.
Interestingly, MbL sails into Error's zone right as Error leaves to chase Liereyy. Liereyy retreats off from this fight. He and MbL had a really good chance to pincer that army, but Leary's gone back home, and I have no idea why. MbL...
Yeah, I'm really surprised, because they could have pinned him in that little canal with great timing. So if only Liereyy was here to just pick the fight with MbL, it would have been great, but I'm not sure what was with Leary's back timing here. It's kind of a disappointment. At least MbL forces Arrow to stop fishing and is having a good fight on its own, but it could have been so much better.
Liereyy grabbing 4 vills on the front of Error's base on the berries there, so that's a pretty good bonus for him too. I wonder if he was roaming around looking for TaToH. TaToH was kind of twiddling his thumbs during this fight. He was just too far away. It actually looks like TaToH will sail in to take on MbL, and Liereyy will sail in behind him. So this might even be a tactic that they meant to have happen, because now TaToH is committed to fighting MbL, and Liereyy is hot on his heels. This is really interesting. We've got like a double pincer.
I love how TaToH just tried to hit one of the ships with his scout. Just to get that small HP difference.
This is absolutely craziness. I can only imagine that this is planned. Liereyy is going to actually be the hammer that comes down on the backside of this army of TaToH, or this navy, and it does look like they'll have an advantage in that fight. Both teams posturing around, trying to kite away from damage, and it does look like Liereyy and MbL will eventually push this army, this navy, back from TaToH and Error. Very interesting set of strategies there. I'm not exactly sure if that was serendipitous or if that was purposeful, but now Liereyy is in here to take on a relatively dwindled down army of TaToH and Liereyy. He and MbL now seem to control the day on the docks of the blue player.
Yeah, and TaToH isn't just hit TaToH. Wargali is coming through for 2 of the players. Volcanaro is being researched. Obviously, Wargali timing is going to make quite a big of a difference as well. But it seems for now, TaToH and Arrow just want to play safe, wait for the upgrades, reinforce a little bit, and obviously really need to be careful considering their opponents are probably a little bit ahead in upgrades.
Looks like MbL.
It seems like TaToH might be ending up losing his fish right now. By the way, spoken about fish, I'm a little bit disappointed that Error, having so many fishing ships, was only up to TaToH with 10 to 20 seconds difference.
Yeah, a little bit of a kind of an awkward game from him. I don't know if there was something else that we missed going on, but it looked like he was a little late to feudal, a little late to castle, had a lot of fishing, like you said. Right now, it looks like Error and TaToH will be teaming up on the top side with a small navy. Some galleys there kind of hanging out on the top corner. As you said, blue player losing all of his fishing on the bottom side. Still more damage coming in from Liereyy, focusing down the docks with just a couple of galleys left behind. He's also camping on the coast of the blue player Error and just keeping pressure on any point that he can. He has cleaned up a few vills there earlier in the game. MbL trying to do some damage to TaToH's docks. There is a big conglomerate navy here. MbL has to be careful. MbL...
Yeah, but the numbers advantage is really in Lierey's and MbL's favor. Having almost 20 fishing ships more, Wargali's more, is really forces Error and TaToH to be really careful in which fights they pick, because they cannot go head on. They need to find these little fleets trolling around and group up, outnumber them, and be able to punish them from there on. But that's going to be pretty hard because they have to fight really careful, and in the meanwhile, Liereyy and MbL might be able to do some damage along the coastline.
Yeah, those guys are just rolling around together. You can actually see that Liereyy has sent basically a war galley to every corner of Error's Island, and right now, big engagement on the front. 2 big conglomerate navies going to fight each other. TaToH's got a lot of forces here. Hard to say whose is bigger because Liereyy and MbL have so many ships that are not at this point in the map. It looks like they're going to retreat from this, and it looks like they should. need to do so together, keeping the attention there of TaToH and Error in the main. That main force seems to be all they have, while Liereyy and MbL have a couple of very small forces spreading all over the map, trying to do some annoyance where possible.
Yeah, and I think like that's where they should be taking the advantage they have right now, because they cannot really force a fight unless they can pin them down perfectly and kill them from there on, but that's going to be extremely difficult to pull off, whilst this is going to at least do some damage. Maybe they can try and focus down some dogs, but I think it's just going to be important to not lose too many individual just ships trolling around, and make sure you keep that number advantage whilst applying pressure, so you're not just waiting for them to catch up.
Liereyy here seems to have an embargo going. Maybe he's going to stop any possibility of transport ships or something, but he's just looking at every single point of the island of Error. If we look at Lierey's Fog of War, it would probably suggest that he knows everything that's going on the edges of his opponent's map. He's just got galleys camped everywhere there. Those guys will retreat MbL and Liereyy down to the docks of Error, and it looks like TaToH is weary to take that fight. He's going to go a little bit back toward his own zone, continue building out docks, and start to regroup. We have seen Error slinging a little bit of resource to his teammate TaToH, maybe trying to help him get an advantage, help TaToH get to the Imperial Age, which he has clicked up to right now. Ballistics coming in for MbL and Liereyy as we speak.
Oh, Imperial Age is kind of an interesting consideration from here on, in my opinion, because obviously getting the Bracer upgrade and the Galleon upgrade is going to be huge, but I hope that's going to be enough to actually swing them back into the game. And especially, I'm just going to check whether TaToH has ballistics research already, because that seems like kind of an important thing right now.
TaToH still...
I didn't see him click it, but he does have the university.
TaToH's still building up a bigger navy there on that top side, but still weary to engage his opponent. Will lose a scout there on the bottom. We see a monastery and a university coming up for the blue player. He's lost a lot of the fringes of his map, but Error here still absolutely happy back at home. He's got a couple of safe wood lines. He's got a couple of safe gold piles. I think he can take this stone safely as well. What's the verdict on the ballistics?
TaToH is researching ballistics now, by the way.
Gotcha. Maybe that is why he's weary of taking a big fight. He's also does not have the numbers navy-wise, but his navy is obviously all clumped up in one spot, whereas MbL and Liereyy are starting to basically send their navies into different directions. Liereyy still has about 10 ships just circling the island of Error, waiting for him to drop a dock and try to rebuild up a navy, I would suppose. He's not going to allow that to happen. He's going to keep the squeeze on his opponent.
Okay, but now if you look at the numbers, like everyone is kind of equal in veil count, no significant difference, but military, you just see Error, after that big fight, he never was able to really produce any navy again, and even though, like, usually in matches in Age of Empires, the tech advantage can make a huge difference, but even though TaToH is going to get Galleon and Bracer right now, it's really going to be hard to get back into this game before Liereyy and MbL get to Imp and get Brace and Galleon themselves.
Yeah, nice engagement there from MbL for a few seconds to take down some ships while his opponent was trying to get the Galleon upgrade in. Now MbL's got to retreat off from this. He put a little pressure on one of the docks, but it was not the right dock to stop the research from coming in. Look at the Teal Navy. Teal Navy just roaming around the map waiting. He and MbL should probably join forces here relatively soon. Imperial Age coming in for Liereyy and Error. MbL maybe a few shakes of a lamb's tail behind here. No, he'll be up relatively soon. Put a little bit more of his money into building galleys and was not slung the same way that TaToH was. So TaToH will be the first one up, and he's going to have to make hay while the sun is shining with those galleons. It's time, man. He's got to try to do something effective here and dwindle down the navies of his opponent.
Yeah, now MbL and Liereyy just need to respec to the upgrades of TaToH right now and just wait until they are imp themselves, because else TaToH will just be able to kite quite a bit off and get free picks, and that's just going to equalize the numbers, and that's something they really want to avoid at this point. However, obviously backing off comes at a cost of exposing your coastline. Now MbL has a pretty okay coastline. Lierey's, however, is kind of dangerous. But still, TaToH has to respect the fact that if he gets pinned down, they still have a huge number advantage, and probably the other upgrades are coming through for the other players as well.
So the blue player here, Error, trying to get back involved in this game with a bit of a navy. He will be Imperial soon, but MbL finds him just in time. He built his new docks right where his old docks were. MbL finds him and catches him with not enough ships there to defend. Red player roaming around the top area of Lierey's island, trying to find some action there. There's a couple of villagers and a couple of stray buildings that he can pick down, but nothing that's worthwhile. He needs to get something real serious done here if he can. TaToH also is there on the bottom, trying to help his teammate get some docks up. Actually, Liereyy focusing on villagers, slowing down the dock build of his opponent. MbL has basically sent in enough war galleys here to take down the very docks in the back that the blue player here, Error, is trying to build up. Huge navy coming from Liereyy around the far side of this island. So right now, they are going to respect that galleon upgrade, but both Liereyy and Error will have it soon. MbL will be a bit behind.
I'm actually kind of surprised how well TaToH is doing with in the time frame that it took Liereyy to get imp as well. It really gave them an opportunity to get back into the game. He actually picked off quite a bit of ships, because if you look at the military right now, TaToH having a 30 advantage. Obviously, Arrow still has something to make up for, but at least it seems to be a bit more balanced right now.
Yeah, a bit more balance there. TaToH able to get in a little bit of effective bang for his buck there in his investment in early imp and the early galley. Bracer coming in for MbL, galleon coming in for him as well. So he and his teammate will be relatively close together. We can see two big clumps of navy from both the teal and green players slowly working their way around. They're going to eventually engage this massive group from TaToH. TaToH is on 84, but both of those guys are on 50 apiece.
Okay, so what just happened is TaToH sent a transport ship to MbL's island with a monk in it to just get a relic and get it back to his own island. You can see the monk in the transport ship north right now.
Let me see if I can find the monk. Monk!
It's on the right of his island, approximately in the middle, but maybe you want to focus on the fight instead. Well, seems like both players are backing off for now.
Yeah, looks like TaToH will retreat from that. Do we see the monk? I don't see the monk. So it's TaToH on MbL's island.
First TC.
Passes first TC. Okay.
Oh well, anyway, I'm not lying, so you don't have to see it. You just need to know. It's
see
just a
the
beautiful small play, which
Nice.
I don't think is going to make a difference in the long run, but who knows?
Hey, every relic counts, man. Every relic counts. Definitely going to be helpful. TaToH going to go grab that relic. If we look at the relic count in this game, it's going to be 2 for TaToH. So he's the one up early, grabbing some relics, thinking about the long game, thinking about having some gold in the late game. That central island is actually has been landed by MbL, or it's been landed by Liereyy rather, and he's going to drop a castle immediately on that island. That's a very important island in the long game because there's quite a lot of gold there.
Really interesting how TaToH is researching coinage right now. While Arrow was slinging him earlier, he's probably going to get coinage because he expects himself to come at a stage where he's going to be pop capped, and Arrow still needs to get back into the game, and that's why he needs to sling Arrow to actually get back on the water as well. And that's a really nice thought process. He thinks of it really early and in time.
TaToH right now has that navy from both MbL and Liereyy backed into a corner, and they're not really fighting together. MbL's taking a ton of damage there. TaToH is doing a really great amount of damage.
Here. I'm kind of surprised he managed to outnumber them both, kind of, because Liereyy has a lot of ships spread around.
Yeah, it's as though they were both outnumbered, but Liereyy was distracted. He wanted to fight this small army on top of that gap from TaToH, and MbL was fighting the huge army on the bottom. They didn't work together there, and when you have lower numbers...
MbL just retreated, and Liereyy just lost everything here.
Yeah. When you have lower numbers, the fights...
Wow, this game just totally swung. You can see the military count of Liereyy and Arrow now being in favor of Arrow.
Yeah, all of the sudden, Liereyy just getting totally cleaned up there. He does have a castle and a TC coming up on the central island. He's got something to lay back on, but that was certainly not a good part of the game for him. MbL pushing back a couple ships from TaToH with his entire fleet right now on the top side of the map. Total military counts, TaToH's on 92, MbL and Liereyy are on 91 combined. Error is up to 41 at the moment. So Error has rebuilt his navy here. It's taken him some time, it's taken him quite a lot of energy, but he's going to eventually have a pretty sizable navy. He can join up with TaToH here, and they certainly have the bigger force, which is pretty surprising. MbL and Liereyy maybe...
I think the only thing Liereyy and MbL can hold on to right now is that they probably will have the gold advantage a little bit later in the game due to claiming an island, but even that is going to be unsure because it's simply so easy to retake that island when you lose all of your water control. So it's actually looking really bad suddenly for Liereyy and MbL. Just taking one bad fight just completely swung this game.
Yeah, it does feel like a big, important swing of the game. MbL is going to need a castle down here on his own island relatively soon to protect his own resources on that coastline near TaToH now that he is starting to slowly lose the military or the navy battle there on the top side. Looks like the central island for the teal player will be controlled, but will he control it well enough to actually take resources there is going to be the question. TaToH raiding the top side of the teal base. He's also into the back area here with a couple of galleons. Just trying to apply some pressure. Error is now rebooming his navy. Error is on 57. 164 ships for the team that was behind that we thought had a real problem. Castle will come up for Error on the second smaller island, or not smaller, but less resource-rich island. He'll have 5 vills there to build that island up.
I dislike the fight TaToH is picking in the north right now. Even though it seems like both players have kind of equal numbers, I don't like seeing the equal number fight if you already have such a large advantage. Like, obviously he kind of wants to protect his dogs, and there's no fish to protect whatsoever, so I just don't really like him picking this fight. I would rather see him regroup a little bit and from there on pick better fights where they just keep on having the advantage. Because now he's actually just picking a fight where he's slightly outnumbered, and that's simply going to swing the numbers, even though a little, but it's helping MbL getting back into the game a little bit.
So MbL eventually will force TaToH to retreat and regroup. TaToH, unfortunately, not microing perfectly there. He's going to lose a couple more ships for free there. 4 versus about 15 or 20 there from MbL is a quick, easy fight. But the blue and red player are roaming around together. They have a massive conglomerate of a navy. But where are they going? What is the plan? Right now, they do have a couple of Liereyy ships on the run, but they don't have them trapped. They just seem to be sailing around a little bit aimlessly. There's got to be some sort of plan. Those guys are eventually going to kick into action and maybe head toward MbL's back docks and decimate MbL's water control. Teal player seems very invested in protecting his island. 2 castles, TC, and quite a few ships in that zone. We see a lot of rams here from Error right now. Error's got a lot of rams and a castle up on the front side of his own zone.
I'm kind of curious what's the thought process behind the rams. Does he simply want to put the rams there so Liereyy simply focus the rams instead of the galleys and they can soak up the damage, or does he plan on getting a few transport ships and wants to reclaim that island anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he is up to right now. I don't know what the thought process is, but he's got a couple of rams out for the time being. He's actually got a handful of them out there. They're all up near the edge of the water. Maybe they're just going to tank some damage and distract. I don't yet know what the plan is from the blue player, but TaToH and MbL still fighting a pretty major naval battle on the top side. This is a small fraction of TaToH's navy, but a big battle nonetheless. MbL retreating for the moment, but those 2 players posturing against each other. Teal player Liereyy going to come into the bottom side of that channel and try to take down a couple docks from TaToH for now, but we will see. I mean, the blue army, the blue navy is still hanging out on that coastline, still pushing on some buildings and some houses, but maybe not getting a whole lot done there.
It feels a bit awkward, to be honest, because I feel like half of TaToH's force has been some sort of idle. The same as Error, like they are doing a bit of damage on the coastline, but it doesn't really feel like it's paying off at this point. Whereas I feel like they could maybe group up, pick off some dogs, or yeah, I don't know. I just feel like at least getting these split fights right now is not using his advantage for what it's worth, really.
Yeah, I agree with you. TaToH's got half of his ships back at home trying to protect his own docks. He's got half of his ships trying to sail around the far right side of the teal player Lierey's area. He's trying to get around to maybe put some pressure on Lierey's back gold. Not quite sure what the plan is there, but that gold is almost chewed up, so it's not going to be too useful. Maybe he'll get in on those docks eventually. MbL sending more ships there. It's looking like MbL is being wise
lost
here.
His military advantage right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
MbL has the lead again, and that is just... He picked a really bad fight with Liereyy at the right corner of the map, and he would pick these not that well fights against MbL early in the north. So I'm just very surprised that this is slinging, well, switching favors again. It's just kind of a pity. It feels like the players aren't really sure how to push their advantage at that point. And one thing I also want to point out is the beautiful kill-death ratio of TaToH here. You can see he really used that earlier aim time to out-micro and out-maneuver his opponent.
Kill death right now for me is 316 kills, 232 deaths for TaToH. Yeah, pretty massive advantage for him there. He's been holding 2v1 for a while, but now his teammate Error is back in the game. Error, sailing around the map, has established that center island, the one with 1 gold pile. Meanwhile, the teal player has established an economy on the part of the map that has 2 gold piles. He's able to reach Trebs. Oh boy, do you see the Trebs be Trebs?
You realize, by the way, that Error also landed a little while ago on Lierey's island? He already dropped 4 stables, went into light cav, and it's just completely raiding Liereyy right now.
Trebs v Trebs shooting across the islands there. We do see that landing on the backside. Yeah, it looks like a castle is up. Archery range is coming up for the blue player. A couple of Trebs pushing out from that initial castle. Raiding, as you said, with light cav, and boy, Liereyy is in a lot of trouble there, isn't he? Nothing to defend
Liereyy
with.
Trying to move on to pikes from here on, but Arrow is simply already anticipating that by getting his archery ranges up right now. I'm kind of curious whether he has the gold to go for something like CA. Yeah, he has the gold for sure, but now I'm kind of curious whether he plans on going archers, CA, or... Well, he's getting bloodline, so I expect CA coming out for him. Interesting move, because it's going to be really expensive, and that means he's going to have less water control. And wow, Liereyy is actually sending a ram train to Arrow's base right now, and he doesn't really have any military buildings to respond.
Yeah,
except maybe get some rams out on his own.
Yeah, he's got quite a few rams ready, so Liereyy may be able to deal with this. He's also got a lot of villagers. Villagers will do okay against rams, whereas on the other side...
Yeah, there's nothing to deal with the vills, that's true.
Yeah, on the other side it is really a tricky... It's a tricky one to unravel there for the teal player. He's getting Treb down, there's a castle established on his side, and there's about to be a bunch of archery ranges actively pumping out units to kill more vills. Ram v Ram war will be interesting on that side, but I do think Error will probably hold his own with villagers and defensive rams for the time being. Putting a stable up on his own island. MbL and TaToH have been relatively quiet, but those two players trading landings was pretty darn interesting. TaToH raiding the top gold there of Liereyy on the center island, able to slow down that economy. Lierey's got a couple demo ships in here, but not going to be able to do too much with them. Loses his castle that was protecting that coast, and he's continuing to get pushed on that side. MbL's got a big advantage on water right now because TaToH's navy is away, and we'll have to see him do something pretty impressive here to pull this game back into the lead. TaToH and Error have taken a lead, and they may not give it back here.
Okay, I find this kind of interesting. So we see almost all gold is running out, except for that one on the little island, which Liereyy had, but now kind of lost. But Error and TaToH still have quite a bit of gold banked up. The market prices are still pretty high, so I think they will be in a good spot, but it might be important for them to actually claim these gold mines on the little island if they want to continue having a solid gold push. A gold reliant push, that is.
Yeah, it is a good point, and we do see the Stone Island trying to be castled for the moment by Error, but he's going to be slowed down. He will get that castle up there. He's going to have to transport some more vills across to get the job done. MbL, though, for now, does have him cordoned off from being able to build up that castle and start taking more stone. Red player pushing with just a couple more galleons on the top. Didn't know if we were going to see another landing. Landing of the blue player seems to be a skirmisher-based, slow, grind-out push with a couple trebs and a castle. Light calves here and there coming in, but Liereyy has taken a real punch. He's on 81 vils. However, TaToH is on 71 vils, so it's not as though this game is being run away with by that villager kill amount. Lierey's ram aggression did get cleaned up, but he does have a bit of a landing. It's under a lot of pressure, though. There's light cav in there from the blue player, and if they can clean up, if Error can clean up these vils, those vils are getting cleaned up. That forward little drop there from Teal is not going to get the job done. So right now the blue island is safe. The Teal island is under a whole bunch of pressure. MbL's got maybe the biggest navy on the map. Well, probably. I don't know. It's hard to say. He and TaToH are very close. But it does not seem like MbL and Liereyy are controlling this game anymore. Absolutely TaToH and Error's game to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, indeed. TaToH has a small navy advantage, but it's split up again, so it's really easy for MbL to pick up some parts, or maybe focus on one point and take it from there on. Liereyy trying to get Arbalest how to probably defend his island a bit better. Not sure how effective that's going to be against the skims coming out, and I'm kind of worrying as well, because switching to Arbalest whilst your gold is running out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very strange tactic. We can see Error, while you were saying that, Error has landed that island that has all the gold that's left on the map. He's power building a castle there. That castle will go up. He's going to have some siege rams as well, hanging out around the periphery of that castle. So the blue player here is going to be fine.
TaToH might be picking a really good fight here. The rams actually tanking a little bit of damage, but it seems like TaToH doesn't have all of his ships there, but at least the majority. The castle fire helps a little bit.
Yeah, MbL absolutely pincered here by TaToH's army on both sides. Castle fire is doing a great job. Rams are taking a little bit of attention away. MbL's navy getting absolutely, totally cleaned up. And there's the GG. So both teams have won their home map. That's not terribly surprising. There's a reason it's your home map. It's where you think you have an advantage against everybody else.
Considering that, there's a huge difference in between the home maps, obviously.
Absolutely, and this game was hotly contested in the early to mid Castle Age, even into the Imperial. But TaToH and Error showed why this is their home map. They simply outclassed their opponents here in the Imperial Age. They took better fights for the most part, and really just won the game on their home map. They'll go up 2-1, and next game could be the decisive game in this best of 5 series.
And now I'm just really wondering whether it's going to be a water map or a land map, because they kind of showed what skills they have and how they want to apply it. So that's going to be really interesting for the next game. But also about last game, I find it really interesting how the games swing back and forth, and we saw some interesting decisions by the players. A lot of decision making. Like, there's not a lot of unit variety on water maps, simply because fire ships and demo ships aren't as viable on higher skill levels. But the decision making is what's it all about, and that's really something you could see last game, and that caused a lot of ships sometimes, and it really was swinging the game around in players' favor all the time, but really well executed by Liereyy, by Error, how he landed Liereyy. I think that actually was a really nice decision from where they were at that stage of the game, to actually do something more than just controlling the water, because what we saw happening was having water control and not really pushing an advantage you have with it, except for picking that 1 or 2 vils on the coastline.
Yeah, absolutely. That to answer your question, Game 4 will be basically, it will be ultra random, right? UR version 4, team random civs. So yeah, like you said.
Yeah, that's why I was curious what was going to be rolled, because ultra random can be quite a lot of things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hence the name, I suppose.
Yeah, hence the name. So we could see a little bit of water in this map. We could see a lot of it. Who knows? Yeah, this game is going to be interesting. Obviously, this is a best of 5. This is the decisive match if Error and TaToH can win. I'm cheering for MbL and Liereyy. I want to see this go to 5 games, and whoever wins Game 5, I'll be happy. But nonetheless, we'll work our way into that in a moment. Spectators have not begun The spectator delay has not yet begun. Yeah. So what are you thinking here? Game number 4. Do you have a dog in the fight here? Are you cheering for anybody?
Still, the main thing I'm thinking about is whether it's going to be a water map or not. That's going to be really interesting. But honestly, talking about others water, I'm going to get a drink real quick because I'm getting thirsty. I'll be back in a second, okay?
All right, guys. This is Killer B. I'm here with Wick, Mr. Wick. If that's Mr. Wick to you, Doctor Wick to most, I would say. We're going to be doing the best of 5 here today, working together for the first time, working out the kinks. Thanks for being with us on Voobly Official. Yeah, so this is the Absolute Random Cup semifinals. We've got more games coming from this soon. I'm not sure those have been scheduled just yet, but this set of games today, obviously tournament games, are going to be decisive for who moves on. 1 restart left for MbL and Liereyy, no restarts left for Error and TaToH. So if this game, if this role is not something that MbL and Liereyy like, they will probably out of this game. This would probably be a good time to use it. However, I'm just a guy throwing theories at you. I have absolutely no idea what the players want to do. If we look at Game 5, it will be Coastal, hidden free choice of civs. So the 5th game will be a coastal map if we get there. But that requires MbL and Liereyy to win Game 4 here. Thanks for hanging out in the channel. Oh boy, I said it again. Thanks for being here, guys.
Busted. I was just back in time to hear this one.
Yeah, if you're playing the Killer Bee drinking game, my bad. You have to drink again. I'm going to do better. I'm going to find a way to not say thanks for being here so many times. But I did just say it again, so if you're playing the drinking game, go for it.
It seems like MbL is be right back for a second, so we will need to wait for that. What map was Game 1 again?
Game 1 was Rivers. We saw 2v2 on Rivers. We saw a in that initial game because MbL stole a boar and killed Error's scout as well. He stole a boar and Error was trying to chase him down, and Error lost his scout to TC Arrowfire. So that game was a very wise from Error and TaToH. MbL and Liereyy still holding on to their Hightower asking that question. Yep, there you go. Rivers on Game 1. Philip Rivers on game number 1. So, Wick, how long have you been doing this? How's your channel going? How are things? Are you building things up? What's your goal? There's 5 questions for you.
I actually started casting like over 7 months ago and hosting a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I really love doing it, but I simply got too busy with my study and stuff, so I had to take a mandatory break, to say so.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on that stuff first. Finally back for 2 weeks or something now, and I really plan on being more active from now on. Finally have a bit more spare time on my hands, so whenever I can, I'll try and hop by.
That's
cast
great.
a game, co-cast, anything.
That sounds
and
awesome.
From there on, I'll see what I do. I don't think I have time yet for anything like a YouTube channel, but I will entertain myself doing this, and doing this is kind of what I love at the moment.
It is a whole lot of fun. And what are you studying? What's your area of focus?
Econometrics.
Oh, that sounds fancy. You have to dumb that down for me.
So what econometrics is, you mean? Or
Mm-hmm. Yep.
imagine a combination of economics, mathematics, statistics, and programming, and that's basically what it is.
Ah, okay. So you're trying to
it's
track.
a bunch of everything.
Mm-hmm. You're trying to track like the movement of certain economic forces for a company or for a government, or you won't know until you get the job. What's the deal?
Well, there's a lot of potential for jobs later on. Like, you can work for the government, you can work as executive officer at companies, CEO, stuff like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a lot of options, really. But I'm not sure yet what I plan on doing, and that's the least of my worries for now. I still need to finish this year, then I can consider a master or something, and I don't know. I'll see what happens, I'll see what I enjoy most, but for now, I'll just do everything to get it finished as soon as possible.
Yeah, man, that's part of the game. You never know. The plan always changes a little bit. It certainly did for me. Every step of my education, it was like, I think I want to do this, and then it was like, well, I was kind of right, but I'm going to change my goal by 10%. You know, like I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I'll put on a little music here in the background for people to hear. I don't know if you can hear it, but you know, just a little bit of entertaining music from the game Zelda: A Link to the Past. Right now, we have a bit of a delay. Players are actually spectators have just
Spectator delay just kicking in.
Yeah, we've only got 2 minutes left. So yeah, man, that's great. I'm wishing you lots of success in the studies that you're working on. I feel like everyone who plays
thanks.
AOC is studying something. Have you noticed that?
Sorry?
Seems like everyone playing AOC is studying something.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually, when playing this game when younger, come back now, and it's around this category of age, maybe a bit older than I am usually. So it isn't too surprising, really.
Lord Farron saying, Coastal is interesting. Can you, in terms of water versus land, what do you guys think about the matchup there? Well, if Game 4 is won by MbL Liereyy, we'll see Coastal. Obviously, Error and TaToH playing very well on water. I'd have to give them an advantage on Coastal. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think what Lord Farron is pointing out here is really interesting, because Coastal is such a mix between water and land. It really depends on the map. But for now, I suppose we focus on this game, and in the break between the upcoming 2 games, we can consider that.
All right, let's do a proper intro here. Game number 4, Error and TaToH versus Liereyy and MbL Absolute Random Cup semifinal matches. 2v2. The score is 2-1, as you can see on the scoreboard. Error and TaToH able to win game number 3 on their home map. Game number 4 here will be a random roll of a map, and we can see that that random roll has generated a very small amount of water. Excuse me, losing my voice a little bit. That small amount of water could be very useful for MbL and Liereyy, who did not perform as well on water in the last game as maybe they wanted to. Looking at the maps real quick, we'll see Error as Britons on the bottom left of the map. Next to him, his teammate TaToH as Franks. It will be Britons and Franks, mirror civs for both teams. It will be Britons for MbL versus the Franks of TaToH, the Franks of Liereyy versus the Britons of Error. So non-mirror civs on each side. Looks like it's going to be an absolutely open map. And I will turn it over to you while I regain my voice. This is Killer B. I'm here with Wick. Go ahead, buddy.
Good luck at regaining your voice. First thing I want to point out, the map is named Anatolia. It's a different version of Scandinavia. So it's usually Scandinavia without the ice, a bit more friendly, as you can now build in more spots. It's a bit more open as well. And what is really interesting about this, how the players are positioned on the map, is that Error and Liereyy are on the same side of the map considering water. Same for TaToH and MbL. So that means if both players, or if our players are going to dock on their own side, which isn't too uncommon on this map, then we might actually see some galley wars going on anyway, even though there's not a lot of water on this map. It's still kind of an important aspect.
MbL was going to steal TaToH's boar. He couldn't keep its attention. It gave TaToH enough time to get his scout into the mix, and now MbL is certainly not going to be able to steal that boar. It's too long of a distance, it looks like to me. TaToH will be doing the right thing. He'll be hitting MbL as much as he can. MbL has to just fully run away and let that boar go back. So MbL almost able to get a boar. Unfortunately, he lost the boar's attention. TaToH needs to be careful because MbL could walk back and try to steal it again. Low HP, though, on that scout, so MbL probably needs to switch strategies. Map positioning.
Yeah, Error was trying to make a move on Lierey's boar as well. Error actually got a few hits in on Lierey's scout, so it's a slight advantage, but that isn't enough to simply go ahead and take the boar. So I think he's just going to respect it and back off. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing right now.
So resource locations here are going to be interesting. Lierey's got his main stone, a bunch of gold off to the side. They're all kind of clustered together. There's no way for him to really wall those in. He can block maybe the corner a little bit and maybe push toward his TC on that side. That's going to be a little tricky for him. MbL's got everything mostly, well, he's got a lot of resources in front of his base. This is a very gold and stone rich map. MbL's area of his most rich area of resources is kind of out in no man's land. Maybe he can block that off here eventually and drop a TC in that zone and be safe. TaToH is going to have gold and stone on the back, but his area is actually the most wallable of everybody. If he wanted to build a nice quick wall, I think he could do so pretty easily. turn the chat
Yeah, the
off
maps
here
are
real
kind
quick.
of interesting. I think all the players have a decent, friendly map. As well, MbL still has the gold in the back to fall back upon. Liereyy has maybe a bit of an awkward spot with the gold in the stone, but it might be really easy to wall it towards his TC and from there on drop a TC. It's kind of a beautiful spot for later TCs. Slight thing I want to point out is the amount of veils the people have on wood right now. But well, it's kind of explaining itself right now because you see 3 docks going up. Only player not docking is Liereyy.
Yeah, Liereyy not
Um,
docking. Yeah.
so that's an interesting decision there.
Just to quickly answer a question from the chat. Rex Ferkman, what is the tourney called? Absolute Random Cup. Yes, that is the name, and you can find the brackets on aoczone.net. Thanks for your question. Yeah, so we are seeing docks from 3 players, but no dock from Liereyy for the time being. Liereyy is working his way up. He's going to grab Loom right now, 22 Vils. We'll expect him to click. And he has a Vil kind of walking across the map as a stray. Okay, she's going somewhere. Oh boy. Okay, a couple Vils coming forward to drop a barracks. Good, good, good. Didn't know if we were going to see some form of early aggression. Error starting to build up walls on his side to block off any sort of early aggression. We didn't really talk about Error's map, but Error can actually wall in, and he would have safe gold and stone inside of a nice little pocket if he can wall off this right side of his base. He's already walling off the top side. TaToH is walling as well. He's building a makeshift wall with houses right where we might have expected him to do so. So TaToH and Error here can sort of turtle up. If their opponents go hardcore into aggression, they might be damaged by it a lot. If MbL and Liereyy try to make some sort of push, they're not going to have a whole lot of territory to push against. And that investment of resources could lose them the game, but we will see how it goes down. Feudal Age coming in for the blue player. He'll be up first. Looks like Liereyy on 24, MbL on 25 right now. TaToH will be the Feudal as well. So both MbL and Liereyy are holding off on clicking up for now.
Okay, so this is actually really interesting. TaToH clicking up now as well, by the way. But we see Error going up pretty early. 3 on gold. He is on water. He has a really easy wallable map. I think in his scenario, with his knowledge, I would go for a Grush. Because you have an easy to wall off map, you want to make sure you have the water, get a fish eco in. But Liereyy isn't on water, but Error doesn't know it because he didn't scout the coastline. He might be able to find it now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's going for galleys and is going to find out Liereyy not being on water at all.
I would be, I would call that a big error if, oh wow, sorry, puns dropping everywhere. Yeah, Barracks is coming. He's not scouting with that fishing ship, so hopefully he will not go galleys, at least for his sake. Feudal Age comes in. We've got a little bit of a pause in the game, but we do see a Barracks coming down right now for the blue player. Liereyy is walling himself in, mostly palisades, but should be fine against a feudal army. It's been a bit of a tour de force of walling, but he does get the job done with really a massive amount of villager build time to get all those walls down, but he'll get it done safely. MbL also walling. He's having to get creative using those cliffs as much as possible, but he will be safe in his own zone here pretty soon. We'll need to block off this very back corner as well. That would be open, at least by my eye. So for the time being, players are working their way up. Liereyy and MbL a little bit later clicking up to the castle. Castle Age, if we look across the board here at resources, Error's going to be able to click up soon if he wants to. Liereyy needs a bit more gold, but should be close. TaToH's relatively close. Everybody's got the gold and food on the rise, so they should be ready to go up to the next stage relatively soon. Blacksmith coming down for the blue player. Let's see if Error builds a galley here. For now, it is not going to be built. 4 Vils onto gold for the moment. Looks like blue player still scouting around on the top side, Xing for his teammate. TaToH Xing a little bit as well. Wonder what he is trying to X, but for the time being, no real armies on the map, just scouts roaming around.
Okay, so I think it's really nice for Error that he didn't go for the galleys, even though he doesn't even have the scouting information. But that saves him so much, because now he's just going for the FC build. Seems like he will be going for X-bows as Britons. Not too surprising as Britons. Blacksmith Market up for MbL, which is kind of interesting. So it seems like he won't be going for... I'm kind of interested in what MbL is up to be honest, because you see 4 on gold.
Yes.
He obviously didn't go for the crush, but there's no archery range coming up either. So it almost seems as if he wants to boom, but that seems really like a really poor option or something. Especially with such a forward main gold he's sitting on right now. A galley coming out for TaToH, by the way.
Oh, TaToH does have a galley out. Interesting. I didn't notice that
But not
happening.
going for the third rush. Same for MbL, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Both players with a galley out. Okay, good. They're going to contest the water a little bit here. The water is worth noting. I mean, a fishing ship on water is just about as good as a villa on land. It's actually probably better because you're not constantly spending the woods for farms. Error there having 4 ships out, his opponent having none is actually kind of an issue. Liereyy here is kind of giving away the possibility to have a little more gathering going on. But for the time being,
Liereyy is actually docking right now, which is interesting. It's really late. Not really sure what his plan is. Has the stable out as Frank's, not too surprising, by the way. Second range for Error, but I'm really curious whether he wants to maybe try and deal a hit on the water, or whether he just wants to make sure he has his own fish eco as well, because that's really going to help him getting out these knights.
MbL winning that 1v1 galley battle on the water, but he's not going to get much damage in. TaToH will presumably build another galley here eventually to deal with MbL. We do see archers roaming forward for the blue player Error. Those British archers will get a little bit of a buff here as he hits castle, to get a little bit of a range buff. Forward monastery coming. That's going to be a decent push against Liereyy, because Liereyy is presumably going to be going into knights, but let's see. Immediately goes
I love the
knights.
monastery. Like, he knows he's up against Franks. So that kind of gives a good response, especially on those first few knights. So that allows him to play a bit more aggressive safely. That's actually getting a fire ships out. Now, usually we dislike fire ships in pro games because they're going to get out micro, they're going to get kited. But on this water, you cannot get kited for extremely long, since it's just one stretch of water, not a circle or anything.
There's nowhere to run.
So,
Yeah.
interesting decision.
Yeah, so Liereyy will wisely build his first couple knights and try to make up a bit of an army to try to maybe defend a push. He doesn't know about this front area from his opponent just yet, but he will find out soon.
Liereyy has a fire ship out as well, by the way, getting the fish of Error right now.
Liereyy sending forward a couple of fire ships, a second one on the way behind
yes.
this. So he will, for the time being, control the water on that side. Is he building some ships, some fishing? No, he's going to build more fire ships. So he's going to try to dominate the water there.
Demos for MbL taking out one of the fire ships of TaToH, but TaToH has more fire ships coming up, and that's not going to be a too cost-effective solution for the long run.
Yeah, one at a time. Even that one demo ship not able to fully kill the fire ship there from TaToH, and it looks like MbL will lose the water on his side for the time being. Maybe for the rest of the game, it's hard to say. He's going to build a fire ship of his own. He's got another one pumping out, so I shouldn't call it a game just yet. He's going to reinforce there and stabilize the water for the time being. Blue player is actually hiding his fishing ships very close to the dock of Liereyy. I like that strategy because it's working. Blue player starting to push in with crossbows, has knocked down the palisade there, and will be trying to push into the area of Liereyy, who is furiously building up a secondary wall.
Yeah, it seems like he will be in an okay spot for now, but the few monks out for Error just make sure, or forces Liereyy to have such a numbers advantage to actually be able to pick a fight that he won't be able to respond on this anytime soon. So that's kind of nice thinking. Siege Workshop coming up for Liereyy right now, that might relieve the pressure a little bit. And last thing I want to point out is Error being on 3 town centers right now, Liereyy sitting on 2, I believe. TaToH is on 3 town centers as well, and MbL is sitting on 40 seas as British.
Yeah, MbL is on 53
Liereyy being
vills.
a bit slow with the boom, but it's hard to get these vills out and knights at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fishing that Error did have going is now pretty much stopped for the time being. TaToH will have some fishing ships out that will help equalize any disadvantage that his team might have on villager count. But yeah, like you said, MbL 4TC booming, and he's so good at doing that. 4 TCs in this cramped little area, but there they are. protecting all the important resources right now and working his way up. TaToH not having a terrestrial army for the time being, so MbL can do this with impunity for now. MbL and TaToH both really lacking any sort of terrestrial army. At the moment, though, Error does have a big army of crossbows. He's taking on a Mangonel inside the base of his opponent, Liereyy. Decent Mangonel shot there from Liereyy. Lierey's going to have a couple of knights here, but he will probably run off from this fight as soon as he hears the sound of monks. Monks getting targeted down by the Mangonel, though. One good shot. Oh boy, one monk left. That was a fantastic fight there for Liereyy. One conversion did go in, though.
So he didn't have Sanctity, so that means that the Mangonels are easily going to pick off these monks without too much of a hassle. He did get some converts in, which is nice, but still pretty nice job with the Mangonel there.
Yeah, absolutely. Defending very nicely. Getting a little bit more aggressive with these knights than maybe I would have liked him to, but Bloodlines with +1 defense at the moment. He's heading forward to try to clean up those crossbows. Blue player has pushed those into a small area, minimizing the surface area for those melee units to do damage. Forward Vil is going to die from the blue player. So for the most part, Liereyy has cleaned up this early aggression. He's probably not going to get a whole lot more kills than he's gotten already, but he's really just trying to boom his way up. He's got another TC on the way, and he is, for now, absorbed the early aggression from Error.
TaToH working his way up to him kind of early. I wonder whether he wants to go for Cavaliers from here on. Seems like kind of a strong idea, as there's not a lot of contesting on the land currently. As you mentioned, MbL just plain out booming right now. I'm kind of surprised that he isn't up to imp yet, but obviously keeping up 40 Cs of Vil production costs a lot of food. Last interesting thing to note is Error actually is trying to get back on the water, just redocked, and is actually creating something right now, which is fire ships. So not willing to give up the water yet.
So yeah, 4 fishing ships for the time being for Liereyy. As you said, they will be contested by fire ships here pretty soon. Somehow Error able to get that dock up, even though Liereyy is patrolling around looking for a dock to come up, but he's not going to see it for now. More monks, more crossbows, a couple of converted knights there for Error. Hanging out on the front side. Looks like we will need to see another good defense here from Liereyy, or he could get a little bit raided. He's going to go Monastery. MbL going triple barracks on the front side there. Don't know if you noticed that.
I love it, to be honest. What are you going to do as Britons? I mean, usually you would think, hey, archers, great. But knowing that the Frank player is booming, you don't want to sit with Arbalest versus Cavalier or Paladins at one stage, not against Franks. So I really like him probably tagging immediately into helps, and maybe after that he can invest in some gold heavy units to just complete the army, but have his response ready to actually go and push and have something that actually is effective against the Cavaliers coming out, because you can already see TaToH now sitting on 5 stables. I'm not sure what else we could expect from the Franks.
Yeah, so 5 stable knights going to be coming forward there from the red player. We are going to see MbL starting to build up spearmen, which will become pikes, and when he hits the Imperial Age, he'll continue to upgrade those units. MbL booming up at the moment on 97 Vils. TaToH, though, is on 85. He's no slouch either. Archery range is coming forward. Defensive castle. So MbL building a bit of a makeshift wall here. Being able to take this stone and gold in the late game might be useful, but for now, MbL has all sorts of resources on his side of the map. The random roll put a lot of resources on the map, especially gold and stone, so it should be just fine for the players here. 5 monks forward for Liereyy. He's going to convert back 1 or 2 of his knights. Just 1 there, but those guys are still sort of posturing, still sort of flirting with one another. For the time being, it is a stalemate between Error and Liereyy.
Kind of interesting how much Liereyy is investing in monks right now, because they are not super effective against Expos. Now you might consider like, hey, it's good to convert some of his own knights back, as you saw over there, but I also think this is precaution for TaToH swapping to knights and moving to Liereyy as well.
I would agree with that. I think it is a precaution. We can see TaToH's army right now is kind of hanging out in the middle. Brief pause in the game, guys. We will jump back into it as soon as the pause ends. But I think that TaToH is going to use his knights to defend a couple of Vils while he builds out some outposts and maybe starts to think about what they're going to do for a team wall later in this game. Right now, those knights are not heading into raid. Cavalier is almost in, though. Plate Barding armor coming as well. Husbandry for TaToH. So, not surprisingly, the Franks player is going to be going hardcore into knights. And like you said, Liereyy will have a couple of monks in defense. A 2v1 push on that side could be relatively effective. Error and TaToH pushing together on Liereyy. He's only palisaded for most of his base, and he could be gutted out. But we'll see if those guys join forces here in a minute. In the meantime, we'll take a brief break. Players may need to take a brief bathroom break or something like that. Let's see. Looks like we've got a good amount of viewers in the channel. Glad to see you guys here. I'm not going to thank you. That's the drinking game, though. If I do say thanks for being here, oops, I just said it. You will have to, well, if you're playing the game. Anyway, Cavaliers are coming in. The pause is over, and it does actually look like they're making a beeline toward Liereyy. So we are going to see 2v1. The blue player and his teammate TaToH will be working together. We're going to see upgraded Cavalier here and crossbows for the time being, trying to push on the orange player who's expecting this.
Okay, so MbL is adding archery ranges as well right now, so I guess he will be going for a combination of helps and arbalest at one point. And I'm kind of interested in how the game is going to unfold from here, because I would say there is kind of an advantage for Error and TaToH right now, because I feel like TaToH already sitting on Cavalier, whereas Liereyy isn't really able to move into Knights more heavily yet. Is kind of a big deal, and the expos of Error will be quite effective dealing with halbs of MbL coming out. The arbs of MbL still have a lot of potential though. Need to be careful with the paladins, but for now I really favor Error and TaToH simply because Liereyy hasn't really swapped into anything solid. The main army he has right now is monks, and they will fare well against paladins, but it's going to be hard, especially when the amount of army gets higher. It's going to be hard to actually have the monk micro correct, the correct level of monk micro to keep up with the paladins, and from there on it's just going to be less and less effective. And then at one point Liereyy needs to be on paladin as well. He is moving to imp right now, but he is simply quite a bit behind. That's my main concern.
So right now Imperial coming for Liereyy. Error is not on the way up yet. Just worth noting, in case you're not totally used to the game, the Britons will get a they'll get a range upgrade. And I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody who's listening. 9 range on the monks for Liereyy there. Only 8 range for the crossbows. Those will be and have an additional range when they hit Imperial. The reason I'm bringing that up is that a paladin and crossbow push is a little bit a Cavalier crossbow push is a little bit tough to do against those monks, because the monks outrange the crossbows. The crossbows can't counter the monks just yet. So it looks like Liereyy will be fine. Those guys have changed their area of attention. They seem to be hanging around in the middle of the map, and they may try to hit MbL on the flank. MbL starting to mass up quite a few pikes, adding in some arbs as well. This army's going to be formidable at some point, but it's not terribly formidable right now. This would not be a terrible time to do a little raiding. Let's see where they go. They are going to head around to the backside of the orange base and just see what's
really
happening.
Poor positioning from Error here, just getting cast a little bit by the arbs. By the way, I saw Error researching banking, and I'm checking right now, and it seems like TaToH is being slung.
Little slinging going on.
I don't like that too much, if I'm honest, because we see MbL just going full on halbs right now with a little bit of arbalest mixed in. How is TaToH ever going to deal with those helps in a cost-effective manner? Because the paladins are just going to get shredded at one point. Like, it can work for now, simply because paladins are extremely strong, but it's going to cost so much gold to keep this up. And for now, paladins have the maneuverability to get away here, but are they able to do any damage if there's this much halbs rolling around on the map? And
MbL is gonna...
They have to do something in the meanwhile, because Liereyy is up to him. Error won't be hitting Imp anytime soon, and Liereyy is finally able to move to Cavaliers himself.
Look at this though, MbL is going to trap some of those paladins in and get a couple of free pokes here. Halbs and Arbs trying to work about corralling those paladin, but they will work their way out without taking too much damage. Looks like MbL is still just trying to pincer two cavalier or cavalry armies right now with a bunch of halberdier, and that is absolutely cost effective. On the one hand, the gold on this map is so plentiful that you can build a ton of gold units, but throwing them up against their best counter is not going to be very useful. However, that being said, TaToH able to sort of distract the bulk of MbL's army to head toward Liereyy, and because his cavalry are so much faster, he can now run right into the front area of MbL. You can see he's got
really outmaneuvering him here, and nice how he brings the Onagas. That will actually be kind of effective against the halves because they simply plunge up a little bit too much when they try to deal with the paladins.
Indeed.
Really interesting, but obviously needs to be very careful with the Cavalier because if he overextends, he can easily pick off the Onagas here.
Yeah, a little bit of, oh, that's a pretty decent set of shots there for the red player. Going to be running in here past a couple of halbs, chop them down pretty easily, head in and grab some of MbL's vills. MbL's still got some halbs out in no man's land that can pick off a couple of reinforcements here and there. But this is a lot of paladin to deal with, and MbL doesn't have the force just yet to do it. He's going to try to power build the castle. He's going to try to hold the line. He's actually a little bit fortunate that the red player here, TaToH, has not been able to get in just yet. I think there is a route that he could take into that economy, but right now he's more interested in killing any reinforcements as they come. The castle goes up. It could be relatively useful for MbL, but he's in a lot of trouble here.
Lierey's trying to flank and get the Onagas right now. TaToH has some paladins left over, but I doubt it's enough to actually prevent this. Now I'm kind of curious, is Liereyy willing to sacrifice all these cavaliers to simply kill the Onagas? I think he should be, because the Onagas are the only thing which makes TaToH's push a little bit more solid. Because that's his only way of dealing with the halves. And seeing his Onagas is going down, he needs to run for the halves and just decides to go for the raiding in MbL's land.
Yeah,
instead.
So you're absolutely spot on. That push turned into a kind of a flop, except TaToH took the option B, which is just send those paladins in and do some raiding. Gutting out MbL's economy right now. He's got him dropped down to 107. MbL was really booming out of control there. Making the best of a bad situation, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And you see TaToH and Era getting up the trade right now, but I'm still kind of worried because I feel like TaToH being slung right now isn't the optimal option at this point. Because the Paladins simply are a bit awkward, especially when he's forced to defend anytime soon. It's going to be really hard because then he loses the ability to outmaneuver because MbL and Liereyy can decide where the playing field is going to take, well, where the fight is going to take place.
Yeah, a little mini engagement here on the center of the map. It looks like TaToH will do a lot of damage to a bunch of arbs and halbs that were hanging out there, but that's not too bad for MbL, trading mostly trash and a couple of arbs for a few paladins. Not too bad for him. Looks like he and his teammate will be roaming forward together. Monks, halbs, and cavalier for the time being. Paladin coming in for Liereyy. Blast Furnace coming in for Liereyy, so he's going to build up those paladins as well. We do see the trade started on that side. No trade for MbL and his teammate at the moment, but we do see markets coming up for Liereyy. They need a team wall, I would think, across the middle here, and they're not going to get it for some time because the paladins of TaToH continue to roam in and basically run right to where that trade would be established. They're going to get a lot of villagers on this clandestine gold mining camp in the back part of the map.
Beautiful move.
TaToH.
One slight concern is that the only spot TaToH didn't wall is where MbL is kind of making his move right now, even though it doesn't seem... this is really nice. In the defense, which I didn't consider to be honest, TaToH simply has these defensive castles up, and these castles will simply excel at taking down these halbs. And wow, these halbs actually taking tons of damage from that Onaga.
Yeah, good
not
Onager
moving away
shot.
far enough. Era, by the way, moving up to Imperial Age as well, which is something I really like to see, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, it looks like TaToH and Error do seem to have the upper hand in this game. For now, they'll be walled out from raiding Liereyy on that top side. MbL will send some halbs and try to push that army away for the time being. But I think those paladins are mostly there to stop the trade. They've killed a few vills from Liereyy who were building up a couple of markets there, and for now there will be no trade for that team. Lots of gold on the map to be mined, but how much of it's left? MbL has a little bit left there. He's got a few panels over here. So for the time being, MbL is good on gold. We'll assume that Liereyy probably has a bit more to work with as well. Yeah, it looks like he's got a couple of gold piles he's working on still. So Paladins roaming around the map en masse for TaToH, 56 of those for the time being, only 18 military from Error. Villagers coming forward from the red player, building basically a wall of castles here. TaToH is going to take advantage of the ability to basically control a bit of the map here, drop down some castles, but immediately Trebs will come down from MbL, Paladins from the orange player. They're going to get this castle for free by the looks of it. Has to be deleted.
TaToH really needs to back off at this point. They really need Error to have the Arbalest upgrades, in my opinion. Else the harps are going to be too painful. The Expos are effective, but just not as good. It seems like this castle will go down. I feel like they should have waited and just not greed out to try and get a castle up, but just make sure the Arbalest upgrade is true.
It's such a beautiful castle position on that little tiny hill, the only hill in sight, but it is going to go down and die. Arb's coming forward for MbL. He's got Halbs there as well. Lots of Paladins from the red player here, Liereyy. He's going to push back TaToH for the time being. There's a lot of orange Paladins there, and the army from MbL is good.
A little bit overextended there, taking a lot of Paladin damage, already not having the largest army because he was slinging.
Yeah, it looks like for the time being, those guys will be working on that side. Oh, by the way, TaToH has gotten through the walls there on Lierey's gold that he was trying to protect in the back. He's killed some Vills there. He's also still camping out on the trade, stopping trade from starting up. So MbL and Liereyy for the time being will not be able to establish trade because of TaToH's aggressive play in the back area of where their markets are. These armies are together. They're going to work together here. I think that maybe they're going to reinforce this. We see more Trebs coming. No Vills at the time being, so they're not going to try to drop a castle of their own. But fortified wall for Error not quite completed. So the team wall has been broken through here. You got to feel like MbL and Liereyy got to get something good done in the next couple of minutes here.
This actually feels really awkward because Error he cancelled his Arbalest upgrade, I believe. He's trying to swap into Harps right now, but TaToH has nothing to move on to these traps. Well, he has his Onyx right now, but I don't feel these will last long. They might be able to get those 2 traps, so that's going to buy him some time. But this is just a really awkward fight in general, I feel. If only MbL would have been a bit more careful with his traps, I think they could have had a solid push here. Just having the Harps defend the traps, and the Paladins are sitting in front. He didn't need to make a move, he just needed to use the traps correctly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks like one Treb will survive that for the time being. Castle still under pressure on that hill, but obviously it's a much slower push with just one Treb active. We will continue to see this game roll forward. Right now, the Paladins of TaToH are mostly in defense. There's a couple of them on the offensive, though. He's got a couple inside the economy of Liereyy here doing some raiding. Lierey's got to identify this and take care of it. It's just a couple of Paladins. There we go. He's going to send a couple of his own back. They can kill so many Vills if you're not paying attention, if you're too focused on the front, but Liereyy is absolutely a pro, and he's going to take care of it. Brief pause in the game here for a moment. Go ahead.
I really have to give it to TaToH and Error though. Well, we've been seeing these games, except for the Team Island map. They're really making sure they get a team wall in time. So by the time they want to produce trade, it's already team walled.
Absolutely.
They really think about this in advance. They're not waiting for the last minute where it might become a bit awkward, where they are already losing some map control, or and they do not start the trade when the gold runs out. They start the trade when I still have the gold left over to actually produce the trade cards and continue making Paladins at the same time, and make sure the transition is really smooth.
Yeah, indeed, that's a really good point. Yeah, they have done a really good job to be proactive in these games, and they are going to have, if they can take care of this army that's sort of pushing on them on the front, that's starting to dwindle a little bit, but it is still a very formidable army here from MbL and Liereyy. If they can take care of this army and finish their team wall, they're going to be sitting very pretty in the long game of this map, in the long game here, in game number 4. MbL and Liereyy must win this game to continue this best of 5. Looks like the brief pause is over. This is Killer B. I'm here with Wick. We're working our way through it. Game number 4. Hopefully we're going to get to C5. But right now, TaToH and Error seem to have something else on their mind. TaToH's going to send his Paladins forward and start to maybe do some raiding. He's tired of defending that central zone. It's interesting, though.
He kind of wants to relieve the pressure by moving his Paladins around, because he knows he cannot take the fight head-on versus the Harps. And this is why I wanted to see Error in the Imperial Age a little bit earlier, because he's going to need his Harps and his Arbalest to play a bit of a defending role, and from there on, His Arbalests are going to be super effective against the Harps of MbL, and the Harps, well, obviously will be able to relieve the pressure of the Paladins a little bit. So I think it's really important to see Era moving back into this game a little bit. He's really high on the Veil count, so Zico is blooming and booming, but needs to be careful that he isn't going to be sitting too high on the Veil count in the long run of the game.
Yeah, right now it is Era trying to defend on his own, kind of getting picked off and cleaned up a little bit. Liereyy there getting in a couple of pokes. He will have to retreat. So these armies are posturing around each other, one main battlefield on the map, but the longer that battlefield lasts, maybe the better for TaToH and Era, because they have trade established. They're pretty happy with their amount of map control. They're just slowly waiting for this game to pop off. The big fight is about to come here.
I really like seeing TaToH investing in Onager again, because that's not what you see very often, getting Onager kind of early. But I really like it because it appears to be very effective against these hordes of units, especially the trashy ones like the Habs. Really effective against the Arps as well. He's really using this tag in time, not as a last possible late game measure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a good onager shot can change a game, and right now those onagers are doing a pretty good job to push back this aggression from MbL and Liereyy. MbL just losing a lot of halves there for cheap. They even will do very well against these Trebs if they get a couple panels closer. Castle under pressure, but on top of the hill. Just 2 Trebs active at the moment, and it looks like this fight is going down. Red players sending in quite a few Paladins there. It's kind of hard to tell the red versus orange, but for the time being, it does look like MbL and Liereyy will hold that zone. However, they will lose at least a couple of those Trebs, maybe more.
By the way, the spectator board is lagging a little bit for me right now.
Yeah, we're dealing with a little bit of spec lag, but we're working our way through it here. We see Archery Rages coming forward for the blue player. He's going to be able to pump out a bunch of halbs of his own and maybe a couple arbs here in the long run. Arbs on the hill for the yellow player. MbL trying to drop a castle, but he's going to have to get it done soon because it feels like that push is fizzling out a little bit.
Ooh, this is actually a really close fight, and I think the player winning this fight should try and maintain momentum from here on and try to make a push, but it's actually extremely close and hard to say. I think like in such a scenario, the Onagers can make a huge difference if they can only land 1 hit on the Arbalast, but I have to say MbL is being really nice with his positioning, making sure, as they are high damage dealers but kind of easy to get killed by Paladins or Onagers, he's having it in a nice back spot where they're just in range to deal with the helps, but not in risk of one of his shots right now.
Yeah, absolutely. MbL doing a good job to keep the attention of his opponent.
The castle getting denied by the Onager as well.
Yeah, that castle is in trouble. I just see the onager shot coming in now. Yeah, villagers going down. So
the Veils of Error are already ready to reclaim that hill and drop his own castle, I believe. Or maybe he just wants to finish the wall, so Liereyy has to move around a little bit, get a bit more map control in.
MbL's castle denied on
nice Onager shot there,
86%.
picking quite a bit of the helps. But still very close. I really like how MbL and Liereyy are just moving back a little bit, try to make sure they are not giving away too much momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing a good job to keep this one hotly contested. The castle in the middle, yeah, that is a big shot. Castle in the middle is a big pain to lose,
Paladins
but
got on the Onagers there, a bit of overextending. This is really beautiful, like MbL and Liereyy moving back a little bit. Liereyy able to move in with a new group of Paladins from the back, able to snipe most Onagers, relieves a lot of pressure for MbL's Arbalast here.
yeah, so we are catching up to the... Man, we're having a little trouble here with spectator lag, but this game will get worked out. Yep, we do see the onagers there getting sniped. We see the blue player getting a castle up on top of that hill that was ever so coveted by MbL. He's going to be able to roll forward and finish up the team wall here. He's actually going to build a gate. Red Paladin streaming forward, going to do some good damage here eventually. Trade still not really established. I guess there's a couple of carts out here for MbL and Liereyy.
Yeah, they're starting to get it up right now, but they are also not team walled. So, we actually see TaToH now moving them to trying to quick wall with University's Liereyy here. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah, Liereyy.
Yeah, he got through it already. He's able to just run from here on. I think TaToH is going to deny this trade, and this is, as I mentioned earlier, it's nice how TaToH and Arrow start with trade long before it's necessary, because now you can see Liereyy and MbL struggling to get a safe trade up, and that might cost them the game, because as soon as Liereyy doesn't have access to gold, and MbL doesn't have access to gold either, it's going to be super awkward because they have to rely on thresh only, and with Britons, with the harps, it's kind of possible, but it's just very suboptimal, especially for the Franks not being able to get any paladins out.
Yeah, this is really bad for MbL and Liereyy. I looked around the board while you were talking about this trade rating that we're seeing, and they really just don't have a whole lot of gold in the bank, either of them. If this trade gets denied, it's going to be really, really difficult for those guys to get it reestablished, because they certainly just can't build up the gold units to try to fight this army back. Those paladins will get cleaned up eventually from TaToH, but they are roaming in through the trade lines and doing as much damage as they can. Go ahead.
In the top north, Ara snuck in a group of like 15 Arbalest.
Oh, wow.
Is actually raiding with him. That's kind of new to see to me, but it appears to be very effective.
Yeah, he was able to double transport ship some ARBs, and like you said, those are just hanging out in the middle of Lierey's eco, and they're going to grab down some vills and really create an annoyance. Interesting play. We've seen a lot of like cheeky backdoor moves here from Error. Error's played very well. He's done a good job landing and tricking people, taking care of problems by getting around them, and now he's raiding again with ARBs inside the eco of his opponent. He's actually camping those ARBs out to hit the trade. Paladins will respond to this from Liereyy and clean it up, though. I like it. Good way to keep your opponent on his toes. Good way to make the Paladins have to be distracted and go backwards for a moment. So he's doing a very good job there.
Okay, I'm gonna be very honest here, and I'm rooting for MbL and Liereyy, even though it seems like they're in kind of a bad spot right now, but I really want to see a game 5. I'm really hyped because the matches have been so even so far, and there's so much innovative thinking by the players, in my opinion, so much decision making which really influenced the game, and I would love to see a 5th game coming up.
Yeah, me too. This has been a really nice set of games. So far, we've seen some pretty hotly contested matches. This one does look like it's starting to slip away from MbL and Liereyy, but maybe they have something up their sleeve that we don't quite see yet. TaToH also could let this one slip through his fingers if he sort of takes a bunch of bad fights. If he tries to get too aggressive raiding and throws away a lot of his paladins, it's possible that MbL and Liereyy could get back into it, but it's certainly TaToH and Error's game to win here.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's nice how TaToH really is respecting those hubs and is waiting for Error's Arbalest to move in, and from here on TaToH should just focus on raiding, keeping that trade off, because I can see MbL and Liereyy getting back into this game. The main thing they need is get that trade back up and make it stable, because that is just what's the main struggle right now, I believe.
Yeah, Liereyy is on.
I love it, like great picking up fights by TaToH and Error here, really using the unit counters to their advantage, not just by producing, but also by macro managing where you're going to send which units. Maybe that's also a little bit of bad luck involved for MbL, but still, really nice use of TaToH, the maneuverability of those paladins, and again in the trade route, just this is where the team wanting of TaToH and Error is just really paying off. And I was kind of confused because I suddenly see tons of vills of Error moving forward. I think this is his method of deleting vills. Just drop a castle in your opponent's trade.
Ah, there we go. Castle drop right in the middle, like you said. There are a couple of units there, but that is certainly a good way to bait your opponent out as well. I mean, I'm dropping a castle in your trade. If you ever had an opportunity to run in and try to kill these vills and take a little risk with your army, it's got to be now. But it does look like that castle will go up. Very nice play from Error.
Making a breach in between Liereyy and MbL. They know if there's no trade for them, there's no way to come back into the game, and this is actually going to be the game. Really nice job by TaToH and Error, in my opinion.
GG from MbL, GG from Liereyy, and TaToH and Error absolutely playing a beautiful set of games there. End up winning this best of 5, 3-1. Liereyy and MbL showed up. They worked very hard, played good games, gave us some really great entertainment, so thanks to those guys. But moving on will be Error and TaToH. Wow, what a game. Game number 4 is the decisive one.
Games are very even, and really, as I mentioned earlier, I love the decision making we've been seeing in these games. There has been so much nice thought process of the players, just planning ahead and trying to move pressure around the map and trying to let your opponent respond and get these slight advantages in the moments where they are moving around to actually respond to your attacks.
Yeah, yes, indeed, absolutely. Oh man, that was top level play. I'm really glad you joined me because it's really tough to keep up with the 2v2 with that much going on, and it was really great to have you with me, man. This was fun. We did well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed casting this with you as well, by the way.
Guys, if you want to
So
follow our channels, that voice you're hearing is Wick. Wick, how do you say your full name? Are you Wiki or are you Wiki? Wiki.
I still have to make up that one myself. I think I started with Wiki, but then people started to call me Wikea, especially the German people.
Uh-huh.
You know, feel free, whatever you want. Wiki, Wikea.
Cool. Well,
I will recognize it. It's not like there's another name which sounds similar or anything.
so it looks like I'll update the score, but you do have a link below in the Voobly official channel, I would assume. You guys can click on that link, and you could follow Mr. Wick, Wicka, Wicka, you call him what you want. You could click on that channel and follow him. That will bolster this guy and hopefully get him addicted. I'm really hoping that you keep getting excited about these and we keep hearing your voice on Voobly official and your own channel because we need more casters in AOC. We need more good people in AOC, and glad to be co-casting with you today. I'm Killer B. You can find my link there too, but focus on my new best friend, Wick. Wick's the man. Good games, man. Thanks for the co-cast. That was really fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and beautiful games on its own. I think I just can't wait for the final of this because I really have to give it to the admins of the tournament as well. It's just a lovely tournament to see. Seeing some of the standard maps coming back, and next to that also having this mega random effect inside of it as well. Like, beautiful to see some different maps than usual, but also like the core maps of AOC on which we all started playing when we were younger.
Yeah, and there's a lot of improv there in game one where you don't know what map you're going to end up with. You don't know what civ you're going to end up with. It just can be absolute chaos in that first game, and I think I think chaos is fun. Chaos is exciting. So keep tuning into these games, guys. Semifinals are this is the semifinal match for one side of the bracket. Do you know if the other semifinal has been played? I actually don't know the answer to that question.
Let me check real quick.
We'll check AOC Zone real quick. I'll let Wick do that, and I'll quickly just say a couple of things. If you guys have that sweet free Amazon Prime sub membership, feel free to use it on Voobly Official. Voobly is we're a volunteer team of casters, but that money will go toward tournaments, so we would very much appreciate your support here. In addition, worth mentioning, a member of the Voobly team, T90, just got a sub button, so if you are going to sub to 2 channels, you should consider going over to T90's channel. Congrats to him. That guy's put in a lot of work. He's got a great channel. Lots of fun over there, and he's just now got a sub button. So there you go. There's my plug. I get nothing from it, but I would appreciate you guys considering it. Trying to keep this thing going, trying to keep AOC relevant in 2016. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I do appreciate you being here. Oh boy, said it one more time so if you're playing the drinking game, one more time that you can drink. Go ahead.
I looked it up, by the way. The other semi-final has already been played, so now we're just waiting for the finals to be scheduled, which should be, I think, in less than 2 weeks, but I'm not entirely sure.
And the players on the other team, did you notice who's playing?
Well, this contains spoilers for the other semi-final match, so if you don't want to talk about it, just mute it for a few seconds.
Cover your ears. You've got 3 seconds. Cover your ears.
Okay, so we have Phage and Degao, who won versus Janik and Mango, so it will be Error and TaToH playing against Phage and Degao in the finals.
Gotcha. Great. So we'll see that final match scheduled soon. AOCZone.net is where you can find all the information you seek about the schedule here on Voobly Official and on other streams as well. We'll keep you posted on when that tournament gets scheduled. I'm Killer Beat. That's Wick you're hearing. We're about to call it a day. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for hanging out in the channel. Oh boy, you got to drink again. The win will go to Error and TaToH here, and I'll catch you guys in a few days. Wick, are you going to be streaming on your channel here soon? I hope so.
Not entirely sure. From next week and the week after, I should have way more time. I do not have a lot of time this weekend coming up because, yay, exams.
All right.
But you should be able to find me anytime after these exams. And I hope there will be some great matches to cast, and else I'll just find something in the MS lobby. And we'll see what for interesting matches we can actually find.
Sounds great, man. Thanks again for hanging out with me. We'll call it a day. Everybody out there in the Voobly official universe, thanks for being here, guys. We'll catch you later. Have a good one. Peace.
Thanks for watching.